Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of Fabric Fridays with me, Mary Morningstar Johnson from Ruby and Violet Designs. So in today's episode, I'm going to be talking to you guys about a quilt along that I joined and show you the fabric pull that I did for that quilt along. I have some really beautiful fabrics that I think have worked really well for this quilt along, and I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about what a quilt along is if you haven't done one or if you think you might be interested in joining one. So back in about late August, I was looking around on Instagram for some new inspiration, and I came across a quilt along with a quilt designed by Sharon Holland, and I really liked the pattern a lot. It looked like fun, and I've never done a quilt along. I've seen them on Instagram, but I've never participated in one. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna try this. So I'm so glad that I did. It has been so fun. And what's great about it is that you have the designer that follows along with you, does tutorials, does Instagram videos to kind of show you, for that week how things are fitting together, and tips and tricks of what to do each week. And so on top of that, you also get connected with this group of quilters who are also doing the quilt and who also have other things going on. And so it really kind of opens up this community for you while you're doing this quilt along. And those have been my favorite aspects of it. And if you have a question, the designer answers your question. And sometimes when you're putting a pattern together, you don't have the designer right there at your disposal to be asking questions to. And so I think that if you see a quilt along and you're interested in it, I definitely recommend doing it because it has been just a really fun time to do this quilt along. So as I mentioned, the pattern is by Sharon Holland and it's called Sweet Home. And this is what the quilt pattern looks like. And it was a downloadable PDF off of her website. And so I downloaded it and printed it off. And it's super easy to follow along. And I think that probably the most involved or complicated, not really complicated, but just the most involved part was the cutting. I had to end up highlighting my cutting to make sure that I got everything cut out in the appropriate fabrics. So there were kits being put together for this quilt along. I opted to do my own fabric pull just because I love picking fabric. I love matching fabrics. I love designing what the quilt's gonna look like with fabric. And so anyway, I went through and I numbered each of I kind of did a little chart and I figured up like the dark, medium, and light of the different colors that she used, and then I substituted the colors that I wanted so that as I was cutting it, everything matched up, and it ended up working out great for me. I'm not sure about anybody else who did their own fabric pull. I think some people did scrappy fabrics, and then I saw a lot of kits that were being done were with the Spooky and Sweet fabrics from Art Gallery Fabrics. And if you guys aren't familiar with the Spooky and Sweet fabrics, you can go back to my episode. I showed all of the fabrics from that collection because I too love those fabrics, and you can see what that looks like if you're interested in using those for this pattern. This would be a great pattern for those fabrics. I've seen quite a few people that have used them and they've posted their progress, and it is really cute with those fabrics. So I also used Art Gallery Fabrics in mine, not the Spooky and Sweet. And then I mixed in some cotton and steel fabrics too. So I'm excited to show you guys. If you're thinking about doing this pattern, the Sweet Home pattern, there are 12 fabrics, and for the houses, the bungalow houses and the log cabin houses, there's roughly 4 and 4 fabrics. So I did I did yellows and teals. And so I did a dark, a light, and then kind of two mediums. One was a medium that went a little bit more to the dark, and one was a medium that went a little bit more to the light. So I had a nice variation. And then there is a directional fabric for the windows, the cornerstone blocks that kind of go everyone in the sashing. That's one of the fabrics, and then you have the chimneys and then the middle parts of the log cabin. So if I were you, if you're interested in the pattern, you can go to Sharon Holland's website. If you're on Instagram, you can go to her Instagram and download the pattern. I think it's $8, and you can download it. And when you get the download, you'll see the chart, and you can kind of go through and substitute out yourself too. And so as I'm putting it together, I'm thinking, oh, I could have used this fabric for this, or this fabric for this. But I'm super happy with how it's turned out, and I'm going to show you guys where I'm at. I have 2 rows completely done. But I think doing it once, that's kind of the nice thing about having a pattern, is that you can make corrections or think in your head a little bit more after you've put it together, like, oh, I think I want to do this color combination, or use this kind of fabric for the sky or the chimney or the windows or whatever. So anyway, it's your quilt and you can make it how you want. So anyway, onto the fabric. Here is the first fabric, and it's a coral. And I numbered all of my fabrics because I get a lot of interruptions in my day, and so I didn't want to be trying to figure out which fabric was which. I just had them numbered, and I had it numbered on my chart, and so I could just grab as I go. So I definitely recommend numbering them, especially if you have a lot of interruptions like myself. So anyway, this coral fabric, it kind of has like a snowflake pattern to it, and I was not paying attention so much to the design of the fabrics, more the overall colors of the fabric, because I wanted it to be, when you saw the quilt, I wanted you to see and pick out the main color scheme that I came up with. So anyway, this is an art gallery fabric, and it was the color that I wanted, and so that's how I picked them. This one, it looks really black in the pictures, but it's just a really dark, rich navy. And this is a cotton and steel fabric design. And it kind of has these squares, and I just thought it just had a little bit of an architectural look to it, I thought. But again, the colors were really what I was after. And then I did like some mustard and yellows in it, and so you can see it too kind of has an architectural look. So I guess I did kind of take that into account a little bit, but mainly the color was my main driving force towards picking my fabrics. And then there's this one. This is an art gallery fabric. So was the last one. The last one was art gallery. And I saw this one, and this color, I have just been in love with it since back in my citrus and mint videos. This like greenish, tealish, it's a little bit dull of a color, but I love this color. I've been in love with this color for a while. And it has little navy dots in it. And so this one was perfect. And this one's cotton and steel. So love it. This one is also cotton and steel. And it too is kind of that dull turquoise color. And then this one I had to get because it had the coral, it had the mustard, and it had the teal in it. And this is art gallery fabric. And this one I had to be careful because this one is I wanted it to be directional this way, so when I cut things out, I needed to pay attention to that in my cutting. So in your fabric pull, if you're doing fabrics that are directional, you want to think about how you want the direction to go into your pattern when you're cutting the pieces out. So something to consider. And then this one was really pretty. It's also Art Gallery Fabrics. You can see here, this is Winged by Bonnie Christine. She's a great fabric designer. And again, it had the coral and the turquoise in it. This one is also Art Gallery Fabrics. And it just looked really good against the other fabrics that I pulled. This one is also Art Gallery Fabrics, and I really liked this one. It was really modern looking. It gave me that solid mustard, but it had the print to it because I didn't want a solid. And I really liked it. It went well with what I had picked. And then finally, oh sorry, no, two more. This one. And I know this is a little bit bigger of a print, and it kind of has some gray in it and the pink that I don't really have, but it added just another pop. I didn't want it to be straight, just turquoise and yellow. I wanted to break that up a little bit, and this fabric I felt like gave me that, and so I'm really glad that I picked it and went with it too. And then I did just a simple, this one kind of matches that other dull turquoise, and it's cotton and steel. And so those are my fabrics, and I'm going to show you guys how they all came together in this pattern. So you guys can see how they all came together. I just think that this is just such a beautiful quilt. All these little bungalow and log cabin houses. And once you start making them, they are seriously addicting to make. They are really, really fun. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode of Fabric Fridays with me, Mary Morningstar Johnson from Ruby and Violet Designs. I hope that maybe you'll get interested in doing a quilt along, find a pattern that speaks to you that you want to do, and join that community and participate, because it really is fun, and especially at this time where we just really aren't able to go to a lot of the quilt shows and have a lot of those communities in our presence. It kind of gives us an online community to talk with and communicate with what we love most, which is quilting and fabric. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it today, and I look forward to seeing you again next week on Fabric Fridays with me, Mary Morningstar Johnson from Ruby and Violet Designs.